everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This video is going to be a top 10, which I know you guys love, and I've been thinking about different top 10s to do, and I thought this one would be fun. This one is the top 10 doll collecting difficulties. Now, some of the things on this list you probably will never have encountered, or you won't think it's a real difficulty, so I'd love to hear in the comments below what your biggest doll collecting difficulties are. But let's get right into it. Number 10 on my list is narrowing down your likes versus your dislikes. And what do I mean by that? Obviously, I like a lot of different kind of stuff. I've got a room full of a very diverse collection of doll types and mediums and ages and etc. So I like a lot of different things, but there are some things that I don't like. And as you start to collect and you get things, you'll realize that you get something and maybe it doesn't work for you. And you know, that can be really difficult when you've been looking forward to a doll and you get the doll and you just don't like the doll. For me, it's not that I don't like them, but I have difficulty with tinies. And the problem that I have with tinies, now these are two of my very oldest BJDs, period. When I started collecting BJDs, I really got a lot of tinies. These two are both very special to me. This is my Nikki Britt Olivia, and this is my Neferkane Humpty, and I love both of these so much. But what I've come to realize and accept is that I really don't like tinies very much. It's not that I don't like the way they look, and it's not that I don't like the artistry behind them. What comes up for me is that I have a really hard time posing them because they're so small. I have a hard time dressing them, wigging them. And one of the things that I really enjoy about collecting dolls is redressing my dolls, giving them new looks, and posing them. And so with tinies, that just doesn't work for me. And I end up it never fails. Every year I buy at least one tiny, and I end up moving the tiny along because they're just really not for me. So a great example of that is I bought a BB Flockling cricket doll last year at Modern Doll Collectors Convention. Gorgeous, beautiful doll, full set, one of a kind, so pretty. And honestly, like after I had her here, I realized I can't change this doll. I can't really do much with her as far as what I like to do with my dolls because she's so small and it's so difficult for me. I love her shoo-hoos. The shoo-hoos have a little bit thicker bodies, kind of like this, and they're a little bit bigger. And so I ended up moving her along. Beautiful dolls, and for people, there's a lot of people out there that collect, they like to buy a doll, put it on the shelf, and really never touch it again, and they just like to look at it. But for me, I'm a very interactive collector. I love interacting with my dolls. So that can be one of the difficulties. You know, you see something and you really love it, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna give tinies a chance again, and then you do it, and then it still doesn't work for you. It's like you have to tell yourself, you know what you like and you know what you dislike, but narrowing that down can be difficult because it can be, we lost a face here. Narrowing that down can be difficult because it can, you know, you see something and you really love it. Just like that cricket, the Arabella that I bought last year at Modern Doll Collectors Convention. I loved her. Like when I saw her, she was purple, she was gorgeous. But the reality is somebody else can appreciate that more because I really want to be interactive with my dolls. So that's number 10 on my list, is narrowing down your likes and dislikes. Number 9 on my list is FOMO. And for those of you that don't know what FOMO is, it's fear of missing out. And FOMO is a real thing when it comes to doll collecting, because if a doll comes out and you know it's a limited edition and you know it's going to be a hot ticket item, you get that fear, like, I'm going to miss out on this doll. It's going to be really expensive on the secondary market. I got to grab it now. I got to grab it now. And so a lot of times I am guilty of the same thing. You know, I think other collectors are too. You get that fear of missing out on something and you go and you buy even though you're not 100% sure you want it. So my recent example is this recent acquisition, the Platinum Jubilee Queen Elizabeth doll that Barbie put out, Mattel put out. When she went up for sale, I just found out same day pretty much she went up for sale that they were going to have one. Of course, I've been really into my royal stuff lately, so I knew I was pretty sure I wanted one, but all of my dolls so far are Princess Diana dolls, and I thought, do I really want to branch out into other royals? But I knew that doll was going to be hot. Like, I had this feeling she's going to be, like, if I want her, I better go ahead and grab her now. And I did. I just happened to be able to get her. I happened to be online. It was like the perfect storm of everything that could happen for me. Really glad I got her in the end. So she I bought her because of the FOMO. You know, I thought I might want this, I might not, but I better grab it now, knowing that I could move it along later. But I have bought dolls out of FOMO before and ended up not really bonding with them and ended up passing them along. So that's a big one, I think, with a lot of collectors, is when something is really limited or when you really know you want to grab something, sometimes you'll just do it without giving it a lot of thought. Another one I have missed out on that I really want, Pasha put out some Blue Blood Simply Beautiful dolls. I totally missed that. Like, somehow I missed it, you know, when they went up for sale, and they were all sold out by the time I got to it, because I would really love to have one of the Simply Beautiful Blue Blood dolls. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But FOMO can be a really, really big thing when it comes to doll collecting, and a lot of it is because of that secondary market and the way that prices really appreciate, you know, in a very short amount of time for limited dolls and limited items. And also for dolls that you know are going to be really, you know a doll's going to be spectacular when it comes out, whether it be from a BJD artist or some other type of doll, like the Disney limited edition dolls. Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how many Disney limited edition dolls I bought. It's been a few years back, but ever since, if you've been watching my channel for a long time, you may know that I missed out on, I was in Harrods in London holding the Anna and Elsa Harrods limited edition 100 Disney limited edition dolls, and they sell for like $6,000 or $7,000 now. I didn't buy them when I was there because I was like, oh, this box is too big, I don't want to take it home on the plane. So anyway, for years after that, every time a limited edition doll was coming out, I was buying it. And then I realized, you don't really want this doll. You don't really want to buy this doll. This is a FOMO thing. And so I stopped doing it. And so now when I buy Disney limited edition dolls, it's because they're ones that I really love. I have a few in my collection because I do love Disney. You know, I could potentially like have an entire collection of only Disney dolls, and that would be pretty cool with me. So I do have a few of them, but you know, that was one of my examples of FOMO where I was buying, and I really didn't want the dolls. It was the fear of missing out on the doll after my Harrods situation. They had 2 or 3 sets of them there too. I went as far as looking at them and deciding which ones had the best face. And I was like, no, I don't want to take this home on the plane. Anyway, but that is my number 9, is FOMO can make some things about doll collecting very difficult. Number 8 on my list is the financial component. Doll collecting can get very expensive very fast, and you have to be able to tell yourself no. I've seen more than one situation where people are online in different Facebook groups talking about, you know, I've overextended myself, I've got myself into too many layaways, I need to do this or that in order to buy something. I myself have tried to sell a bunch of dolls really quickly so that I could buy something else, but you have to know when to tell yourself no. So, you know, if I'm trying to sell a bunch of dolls to buy something else and I don't sell those dolls, I don't buy that other thing. That's kind of something that helps keep myself in check, as hard as it may be sometimes, because you know, if there's a really awesome Grail doll up for sale that you want, or, you know, maybe not a Grail doll, because a Grail doll, I think we're starting to use that term a little too loosely. I know I have. You know, a Grail doll should be the one doll, and you know, that you really want, like the one ring pretty much. But like a doll that you really want comes up for sale, and you try to fire sell a bunch of other stuff, and it's like, I can trade these other 4 or 5 dolls in that maybe I'm not playing with as much or using as much, and I can get this other doll. So it's very important, I think, to be cognizant of your financial situation when you're doll collecting. It's very important to be able to tell yourself no, and I have gotten very good at that, and I think that goes back to, you know, now I collect more art BJDs and art dolls, but I have always loved my little cheapy, you know, very cheap, inexpensive flea market dolls. I've collected those my whole life, and I think I'm able to tell myself no because when I was a teacher, I couldn't really buy very much. The most expensive thing I bought at that time, doll related, was around $150, and that was a huge stretch for me. We're talking, you know, ramen noodles for dinner some nights kind of thing, so I could afford dolls. So I think that's very hard for a lot of us, is just being able to tell yourself no when something comes up for sale. And so that's that's a real big difficulty, because the other thing is there's so much awesome stuff out there now. You've got wigs, shoes, clothes, dolls, eyes, like from all levels, from very inexpensive up to the very most expensive, high quality, really amazing stuff. And so that's a real difficulty, is being able to look at your financial situation and say, what can I really buy? And then being able to tell yourself no for that stuff. Rolling right into number 7, which is very closely related, is spending money on other stuff. That's something that's very hard for me. You know, if I'm going to spend $100 on something, I want it to be doll stuff. But I have to remember too, and I've been doing a better job of this year, I want to buy things for myself too. Now, dolls are obviously for myself, but I realized this year, you know, I haven't bought anything for myself, like my person, and not my dolls, in a very long time. And so I think it's important to kind of point out that difficulty. And so many of us, we say that it's the same joke, you know, I'll spend $200 on a pair of doll shoes, but on myself, no way, not happening. So this year I kind of took a step back and said, you know, what do I need to, what are some things I would like to have for myself that are not for my dolls? And so one of the things I bought myself this year, I bought myself some new earrings. So you guys can see those. They're Kiki McDonough earrings, and they match my necklace that my mom gave me. This is a necklace. We used to go mining for gems when we were kids, and she had this amethyst cut. This was an amethyst she mined from one of those buckets of rocks, if you guys have ever done that. And I wanted a pair of matching earrings to go with it, and I love these Kiki earrings. So I got them, and I bought that for myself. And you know, it was hard to do that, because I'm like, I could buy a doll. For the price of these earrings, I could buy myself a new doll. But I think that is one of the difficulties of doll collecting, is you have to decide and you have to weigh. You know, it's really hard for me to spend money on other stuff and not my dolls, but if you get to a point like I do, where it's like, I really want to treat myself, even though the dolls are a treat for myself, obviously, like this is my passion, this is what I love, but sometimes you just want something for yourself, for your own person, and that's really difficult to do when you look at the price of some of the stuff that you want. Like, I also treated myself to some new makeup recently. Didn't work out for me. I bought that Jones Road, the new Jones Road What the Foundation, and y'all, that stuff made me look so greasy. My face is already greasy, and then I use that stuff. It's supposed to give you a glow if you're like an older woman like I am, like a middle-aged woman like me. Like, it's supposed to give you a glow. Whoo, my face is already so greasy, it made me look like I was just shining. But they have a great return policy. But anyway, that was another thing that I treated myself to that I haven't done in a long time. I haven't bought things for my personal person, because I'm always wanting to spend that money on dolls. So that is my number 7 difficulty, and I bet a lot of you out there can relate to that one. Number 6 on my list is another one that I bet a lot of you can relate to, and that is shipping issues. Right now, there have been so many shipping issues with all the carriers. If you ever got one of these dreaded slips when you're at home, that's happened to me before. Luckily now for me, my mailman and I are really cool. His name is Jerry. He's like the best mailman ever. He knows my schedule. I mean, I work from home. He knows that I'm getting dolls. He's very good. He has never, knock on wood, this isn't real wood, it's IKEA press board, but he's never messed up a delivery of mine. He's awesome. DHL works okay for me. FedEx is okay. UPS is okay. But you know, those shipping issues are just, I think everybody in the world right now who collects dolls can relate to that. And if you guys remember, I recently got my Natalia Loseva dolls. They were shipped from Russia just as the sanctions came down, and they were shipped via DHL, and I was really sweating bullets over that. I did not know if they were going to arrive or not. And so many of the artists that we love and support are from Ukraine or Russia, and so that's made shipping issues even more, you know, it's tough. I've got 3 dolls paid for, fully paid for from Nothing Sapiens. I don't know when I'm going to see those dolls, because I told them just hang on to them until we really feel like a shipping situation is, you know, is better. And so that's really tough, because, you know, you can't even pay extra for extra DHL shipping at this point. But shipping issues are such a difficult thing, not only if you're getting something from internationally from abroad, but even within our own country. they're not always the best. And I think that goes for any country. I know I'm in the U.S., but I've seen people in other countries, internal postal logistics are not always the best. And it's very stressful. So when a doll is shipped to you, it can be super stressful. I'll give y'all a story. Here's a shipping nightmare story, okay? I have had one really bad experience that eventually worked itself out, but I had some dolls shipped UPS from a UPS store situation to a friend, and they shipped it to the wrong place. They were eventually able to track it down, but the UPS store got like the labels mixed up and they shipped it to the wrong place. It was a box full of dolls. Oh my gosh, talk about a nightmare. And we had shipped them UPS because we thought it would be a lot quicker than if I brought the dolls home. It was from a show. If I brought the dolls home and like reshipped them with USPS, we thought it'd be a lot quicker. Oh no, it was like 30 something days later and lots of BJDs, and it was a really, she got them eventually, but still, shipping issues I think affect all of us regardless of where in the world you live. I am very fortunate in that most of my shipping things have gone pretty well. I've had a few issues here and there, but I don't think, one time I've lost out on some serious money from shipping, but that's been years ago. It hasn't happened to me since because I do insure everything now, and that's something that I always tell people to do is make sure to insure your package, because if it's lost and it's not insured, they don't care. The carrier says, why didn't you insure it? If it was worth that much money, why didn't you insure it? So definitely always insure your packages, guys, because you never know what can happen. But I was so grateful to get them. My Natalia LaSava dolls, and I know that you guys can definitely relate to the shipping. Let me know in the comments below who your favorite shipping courier is. Like I said, I've had good experience with most of them. I honestly, if somebody's shipping to me, I would almost always rather get just USPS, because USPS, like I said, Jerry's my guy. He gets all my stuff here. It works out. Now, what happens in the rest of the country and the logistics on the way here, I don't know. But once it gets to my town, it seems to be pretty good for me. So anyway, let me know who your favorites are. But that is my number 6 difficulty, is shipping issues. My number 5 difficulty is issues you may have if you are a completist. If you are a completist and you want to make sure something is complete, and let's say there's a piece missing to your collection that you really need and it's really hard to find, that can be really frustrating. So I used to consider myself an American Girl completist in that I wanted Kirsten's complete collection and I wanted Felicity's complete collection. And what ended up happening, I have almost all of Kirsten's. I have almost everything. I'm missing a few things. I'm missing one honey jar. I'm missing one honey jar. I don't have all of her bedtime necessities, her nighttime necessities. There's a few things I'm missing. With Felicity, her furniture was so big, I was just like, you know what, I can't keep this bed. I can't keep her tilt-top table and chairs. I had to just narrow it down just to Kirsten. But another thing, just in this cabinet, in the Connie Lowe Stella family, I'm only missing right now a little Alice. So I really want to get a little Alice to add to my Connie Lowe lineup. And her dolls are extremely popular. They're very hot. And sometimes that can be hard to do. Now, luckily, she goes to shows, and when Connie goes to shows, she brings a lot of dolls. I've had the pleasure of, I bought this doll from her at a show. I bought this doll. Well, this came from a virtual show, but she really does bring a lot of dolls. And so I'm hoping this year to be able to add a little Alice to my little Stella gang. I'm probably actually going to go for a big Stella this year. My friend Leah has a big Stella. And she just raves about it. She says, I really need to try the size, and I think I'm finally ready. And so I'm hoping that Connie will have a big Stella at Modern Doll this year that I can buy in the sales room. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, if you're a completist and it can drive you a little bit nuts if you're looking for that last piece of your collection that you just can't find. And I used to be that way. That used to be a real difficulty for me because I have a bit of an obsessive personality. Maybe you guys have noticed, maybe you haven't, but being a little bit obsessive like that can be tough, like when you're trying to complete a Kirsten American Girl collection and you just can't find the pieces at a price you can afford. Because I was really collecting the Kirsten, the American Girl stuff back when I did not have any money to my name to be spending on doll stuff. So I would look for lots on Craigslist and on eBay and try to buy lots and sell off the extras to like get the pieces I needed for free. But anyway, it can be tough on you if you're in that completist mindset and you really want to complete something, or like one little bit of your full set is missing and you're just trying to find that one thing and you can't find it anywhere. I'm missing one boot from a doll that I have no idea where it's at. I wouldn't have thrown it away, but that boot has been missing for like 3 years now. So that drives me a little bit crazy. But being a completist can be very difficult in doll collecting, especially for the hard to find items. A big win for me was in the last year when I got my Ingle Pup Ariel outfit, the Little Mermaid from Disney. That was a huge win for me, but because that was the one I was needing and I wanted, and whoo, I got her. But anyway, I think that's really tough if you're like that. Let me know in the comments below if you're a completist, and if so, what collections are you trying to complete right now? But I think that one is really tough. Number 4 is downsizing. Can be so hard. And you know, you guys have seen my doll room tour. This place is packed very tightly, full of dolls, and I have to constantly shift and move things around and try to downsize to figure out where am I going to put something, where's this going to go. I'm never not going to collect dolls, and I'm never going to move from this house either. So my house is paid for. Housing has gotten crazy expensive all over the country. In this area, the Charlotte area, you know, it's nuts. So I don't ever plan to move out of this house. Like, I hope, you know, this is my final place. But so I've got this room and that's it. And you guys have heard me talk about maybe I want to add on a room. I might have to do that. But you know, in the meantime, I have to downsize if I want to continue to bring things in. You have to let things go too. And that can be really hard. It's really hard to decide, what am I ready to let go of? You know, what do I want to keep? You know, I'm going to bring something in. This thing that I'm bringing in is obviously of a certain value to me that I want to have it. So what can I let go somewhere else? And a lot of times I have let things go that I love, but I'll do things like let go of duplicate sculpts. You know, I have lots of things that were in duplicate sculpts, and I let go of a lot of duplicate sculpts. Now, some things I'll never, like my Hush dolls. I have a lot of Hush dolls. I will never let go of them, like, even though they're duplicates. And the Pigeon dolls are duplicate sculpts as well. These are all 3 the same sculpt, but I love those dolls so much. So, you know, some things I'm never going to let go of duplicate sculpts, but then others, that's one way that I kind of think about it. And then I started adding more American Girls this year. And at one time I had a lot of American Girls, and I downsized those significantly because they take up a lot of space. But now I've added a lot back. And so I'm constantly in this, you know, flux of what is coming in, what am I able to let go of, or can I somehow make more space in the room that I have to bring other stuff in, which I have been able to kind of do that a pretty good job of doing that in this room, of maximizing what space is here. Last time we did it, my husband said, you know, I think this is it, Allison. I think this is the last shelf you can put in this room. I don't think you can get any more stuff in here. But we'll see. That sounds like a challenge to me. What about you guys? But anyway, I think that's so difficult, and that is downsizing. And one of the tips that I keep in mind for downsizing is, you know, if I'm going to sell something for a certain price, if I know something is selling for a certain price, I think to myself, would I pay that for that thing today, right now? And if the answer is no, let it go. That's one really easy way to do that. Or if it's something I haven't changed the clothes on, or played with, or photographed for a long time, or it's something that I don't have a deep sentimental attachment to, it's time to let it go. So those are some tips I use for downsizing. I've talked about those before in another video, but just kind of briefly going over that. But I think it's so hard. I want to have all the dolls. I want to have all the dolls, and I want them all to coexist in this room, and everybody be able to have their own space. Number 3 on my list, and this one is so hard, is competition with your friends, people that you're friends with, for one-of-a-kind dolls. And let me explain what I mean by that. I have been to a lot of doll shows. I'm very fortunate that I'm able to travel to different shows and things, and I've met so many wonderful people through doll collecting that are close friends of mine that I consider to be friends. It's really tough when you go to a doll show and you know an artist is going to have a one-of-a-kind doll. Here's an example of a one-of-a-kind doll that I got from Nikki Britt. This is one of my favorite one-of-a-kinds that I have ever purchased. It is Tootie, the Forest Fairy, and I love this doll so much. But I knew when I got to this show that this doll was for sale at, that there was going to be fierce competition to get this doll. And I was really lucky I was able to get her. I was able to get another from Nikki at that show. She's one of my all-time favorite artists. And so it's really tough, really tough when you and a friend want the same thing, because I feel bad about it. And you just have to be, you have to be at that point where you're like, okay, let the best, fastest person win, basically. Let the, most strategic person win. I don't know. It's easier when it's online, because when you're clicking, it's not as hard. You don't have to look the person in the face like, oh, I already bought that doll. But I've had somebody at a show tell me before, and this wasn't a friend of mine, but it was somebody that I knew from online. Like, I picked up a doll off the table and said, I already bought that. That's reserved for me. I was like, okay, sorry. And you put it down. That's really tough, because, you want your friends to be happy, you want other doll collectors to be happy, but you also, you want that doll too, and you want that one of a kind. And it's funny because a friend of mine and I, we both want, I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to create more competition for the two of us. There's a certain doll that we both want, and we're kind of like, we both know we both want it, and we'll both feel bad if the other one gets it first, but at the same time, we're both going to try to get it at the same time. And it's going to come down to whoever's the fastest clicker, basically. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's really tough, when you're competing with a friend, because I have before at shows, I'm not a very aggressive sort of person. So I don't really I don't run into the tables, and I can't do that. It's just not my style. If they offer early entry tickets, I'll almost always buy those so I can be in first and I can kind of have a look around and have a strategy. Or when you're in first, there's less of a line for you to purchase. So that's worked well for me in the past as well. But it's really tough, because those are your friends, and it's hard to kind of run in and try to beat everybody out. Now, I remember I did go to a show one time. It was Modern Doll before I was actually a part of Modern Doll, and there was an artist in the sales room, and everybody wanted her dolls. And I did not go get in line, early, and by the time I got down to the line, Lindsay and I were literally the last two people in line to go in the sales room. By the time we went to that artist table, she was totally sold out. There was nothing left. But that's kind of how it goes, if you really want something and your friends want it too, you've got to be ready, but you've got to make sure there's no hard feelings either, because to me, friendship is always going to be more important than dolls. Friendship, human beings are always more important. Susie Orman always says, people first and then money. And so that's the way, you have to think about it. Like, people come first. Your friendships have to come first. But then, when it's time to get in that sales room, all's fair in love and dolls, I guess. So it's not worth burning bridges over, but it is a tough thing. Like, if I know that somebody really wants a doll, and I've been there before too, where I wanted it all, but somebody I knew really wanted that doll, I kind of back off, and it's like, okay, I'm not gonna put my name in for it, or I'm not gonna try to get it, because a lot of times some of those one-of-a-kind dolls are sold for lottery. Like, you can enter your name to win, or you can kind of put your name in the hat, I guess. But anyway, that one's so tough for me. Have you ever been in a situation like that where you and a friend both wanted the exact same one-of-a-kind doll? It's different when there's multiples of the same sculpt available, and you can just, everybody can buy one. But when it's a one-of-a-kind, like an artist full set like this one, that's when it's really tough and it's really hard to do that. So let me know if you've ever dealt with that and kind of like how you dealt with it. Luckily, all my friends have been really good sports. And again, friendship is way more important than a doll. No matter how bad you want it, it's always more important. So just keep that in mind. But that is my number 3 hardest thing about doll collecting. My number 2 most difficult thing, this is the most difficult for me, is I want to support all the artists. Financially, I can't do it. I want to have an artist doll from every artist and show them here on the channel, to show people their dolls. And I understand that I'm in a place, I have an advantage, and I'm in a place here where I can actually show things, and people might see it because I have a good, decent viewership here on the channel. And I want to support all the artists. I want to be able to do that, but financially I just can't, and time-wise I just can't. And so I do feel bad, when you want to support artists and you just can't do it all, because again, we go back to that financial component of when do you tell yourself no. And I have good friends, through collecting, a lot of artists are my good friends, and I consider them my good friends, and I want to support them, but sometimes you just can't do it, especially if it's something you already have, or if the timing's bad, or like when a bunch of pre-orders open at once. What do? You got all these pre-orders that are opening, and you have to pick and choose what you're going to do. And so that to me is always really tough. I've had artists reach out to me and ask me to purchase their dolls before, and I just can't do it all the time. I have done it before when artists has reached out to me, but it makes me sad. Like, I feel bad because I know they want me to purchase the doll and show it on the channel, and sometimes I just can't financially do that all the time. So I really wish that I could support all artists at all times in some way, shape, or form, but unfortunately you just have to pick and choose what you're going to go with. And so what I try to do is I try to, after I go through my list of, am I buying this for FOMO? Can I financially do it? Is this an artist I want to support? Those sorts of things. And then it's like, then you can make the decision if you want to buy the doll or not. So that one is really tough to me, because my big thing is, and one of my big goals, my initial goal when I started this channel was just to teach people about dolls, but it's kind of evolved and morphed into this. I really want to support our doll artists, because without our doll artists, this hobby would be a lot more boring. There would be a lot less to choose from, and I love the choices that we have in this hobby, and I love showing you guys those choices and showing you the choices that I've made. And some people may, like the choices I've made, and they may go buy the same doll, or some people may say, I never want to buy that doll, that's not for me, but then they've made an informed choice because they've been able to see the doll. So that's been one of my big things, that's just supporting artists. And so I want to support them all, and it's really hard for me when I can't do that. It makes me feel bad, but anyway, I do as much as I can, and I try to showcase as many things as I can and share things in my Instagram stories and stuff like that when I see cool stuff that maybe I can't afford or I can't participate in at the time, but I can at least share it to my Instagram story and show it to people that way. So that to me is my number 2 most difficult thing about doll collecting, is just wanting to support everybody, and wanting, and it boils down, it's wanting to support the artist and also wanting to have the doll. So let's not, like, I want to have all the dolls, of course, but it's this more underlying, I've learned more as I've gone through this. I want to support the people and uplift the people that create our dolls, because the creators are so important. Me, I'm a left brain person. I'm a numbers person. I'm a logical, analytical person. I cannot create things. I could never, I can't even sew. So I could never create anything wonderful. We need our creative people out there to bring us joy in our lives and to make these things for us. So that's my number 2 most difficult thing, is just wanting to support everybody, but you can't always do it. Alright, if you made it this far, thank you for hanging along with me. My number 1 most difficult thing, which I've kind of touched on already, is the space. The space. Oh my gosh, I have no space. Like, I'm running out of space, and I think every doll collector probably runs into that at some point, whether you collect, if you have a small amount of dolls, because let's say you have 1 or 2 dolls, and those dolls, I know very few people that only have 1 doll. You get 1 doll, and then 1 doll turns into 2 dolls, and then 2 dolls turns into 4 dolls, and then 4 dolls turns into 8 dolls. And so while you may have had like 1 spot on the shelf for that 1 doll, as your dolls multiply, where do you put them? And that's kind of the situation that I see so many other people in, is just, it's like, where am I going to put this stuff? I don't have the space for it. So I've got to downsize, which we talked about before. But space is always going to be an issue for me, I feel like, unless I get a head injury and I just don't want to collect dolls anymore, or something happens. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm always going to collect dolls, and so space is always going to be an issue for me. And just trying to figure out how to maximize your space what dolls are worth taking up your space. And of course, I think all dolls are worth taking up your space, whether they be mass-produced, inexpensive, playline dolls up to the very most expensive artist dolls. I think all dolls are valuable in some way. All dolls are valid in some way. And so I really feel like, you know, that's my problem. I've got so many different types of dolls. I've got lots of playline dolls, lots of collectible dolls. And so space is my number one issue. It's my number one issue, to the point that I have really seriously considered adding onto my home. Prices in my area are ridiculous right now, though, building costs, all that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to hold off. And if something happens and, you know, building gets way cheaper, if we go into some sort of other recession, which I work in financial areas and a lot of economists think that something like that may be coming, you know, looking at the different numbers and things, maybe at that point, you know, I can put my dollars to good use and put some people to work and build on the addition to my house. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. It's like a pie in the sky sort of dream. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But, you know, right now, my intention is that I have to be sure everything that I collect fits in this room. I don't want to put anything in storage, because if it's in storage, I feel like it's not, I mean, besides my doll boxes, I keep them stored up in my attic. But, you know, if the doll itself has to be in storage, it's not worth having to me. Like, I want my dolls out where I can get to them, where I can play with them, where I can change them, where I can enjoy them, where I can look at them when I feel like it. So space is always going to be my number one issue, I feel like, because the other thing is, the more space I have, the more dolls I'm going to get to fill it. Like, I'll have this space, and then it's like, okay, I'm not going to downsize anymore. I'm just going to keep filling this room with dolls. Because I'll go to the flea market, y'all, and come home with 5 dolls that I want to keep, and I'll wash them up, and I got to find somewhere to put them. So that is always going to be a problem for me. Again, I'm a little bit obsessive, in case you haven't noticed. But anyway, that is my number one doll collecting difficulty. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun making it. I had to think about, you know, what are the most difficult things for me in collecting, and those are my 10. Let me know in the comments below which ones you agree with. Let me know what you think I missed from the list. Like, what do you see as a huge difficulty that, you know, maybe I didn't mention, or that maybe is a big difficulty for you? I know for a lot of my friends not in the United States, but in countries where they charge customs, I know customs fees are an enormous difficulty for some of you. I don't have that difficulty, luckily, at least for now. You know, who knows what could happen in the future, but I know that's a big difficulty for some people. But let me know in the comments below what you think your major difficulty is. I want to say, guys, thank you so much for watching my channel. I appreciate it, and we will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. I want to say a huge thank you to my patrons from Patreon: Lindsay S., Leah W., Doreen Z., Janice H., Mercedes W., Cindy K., Bear Sunflower, Diane B., Kelly L., Cindy L., Susie W., Krista R., Victory Run, Shorna R., Shower Star Hobby, Stephanie W., Jessica S., Ray M., Asia C., and Black Y. Thank you so much for your support. Your support helps me continue to bring you great dolly content. For information on how you can become a supporter of this channel, please check the link in the video description. Thank you for watching.